Hi there and welcome to the most watched business show in the country. This is the Business Weekly Show here on City TV. My name is Michael Lobodu. The show is sponsored by Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank, here for good. We're bringing you some very interesting stories this week. So are you ready? Let's go. For the first time in a long while, we are talking about petrol and diesel, and it isn't bad news. Fuel prices are expected to reduce by 16 pesos. This is because of a removal of one of the levies on petroleum products. But this is just for a brief period. It's for just 2 months actually. But it was expected to take effect last Friday. Maybe you should check at the nearest fuel station and see if the reduction has been effected.
Since the beginning of the year, fuel prices have experienced regular increases due to some factors including the upward price movement on the international market and the introduction of some taxes this year by government as part of its revenue mobilization agenda. For the first 10 months of the year, fuel prices have increased by about 40% from 4 cedis 67 pesos in January to 6 cedis 52 pesos in October. Also, prices of Brent crude oil started the year at about $40 a barrel, but currently a barrel goes for over $80. It has been projected to hit $90 per barrel by the end of the year, a development that would mean a further increase in prices at the pumps. As part of government intervention to mitigate the impact of rising prices of petroleum products on the world market on consumers, the National Petroleum Authority (NPA) has approved the removal of the price stabilization and recovery levies on petrol, diesel and LPG for 2 months. This comes after the President approved the removal of the 16 pesos per litre on petrol, 14 pesos per litre on diesel and 14 pesos per kilogram on LPG for 2 months. The price stabilization levy was first applied in December 2017 as a windfall tax. At the time, the decision was to cut down on the supposed excessive profits to be made by the oil marketing companies due to the continuous drop in oil prices on the global market. The National Petroleum Authority is confident fuel prices at the pumps will see a reduction of about 16 pesos from October 16, 2021, which marks the beginning of the second pricing window for fuel in Ghana. Mohammed Abdul Kudus, communications manager at the NPA, has been explaining what this means for consumers of petroleum products.
So this particular announcement that has come, we are anticipating that by 15th of this month, Parliament would have done the needful and they would have communicated to us. So from the next window, that is from 16th of this month to the end of the month, they would have then factored in the price calculation so that the pump out there would effect that. So if the communication comes to us before 15th and we get it effected from the next window, that is from 16th, everybody who goes to the pump should expect a reduction in the cost of petrol, for example, that you buy per litre by 16 pesos. Okay.
Meanwhile, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers has downplayed the impacts of the removal of the price stabilization and recovery levy from all petroleum products. According to the Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa, the move is worthless with the existence of other taxes on petroleum products.
If you applied the price stabilization and recovery that the President has ascended to it being taken out for 2 months alone, prices would have come to about 6.38, 6.36. But unfortunately, the window that we are about ending has also seen prices go up again. So whilst you take out the 14, there could be another 16, 18, 20 coming up. That could wipe it out completely, and that's why we are calling for a more sustainable reduction.
Some consumers of petroleum products have also been sharing the impact of the removal of the price stabilization and recovery levies on their lives with City Business News.
This is not enough for us. It's what? I won't lie you. You see, we go from 14 cities to right now to we better take a gallon. It's too much.
The deduction of 16% or whatever, it's not going to help us at all. 16%, no, it's nothing at all. It's nothing. It is not going to help us, and it's not helping us too. Even though they've increased the petrol, but still they've diluted it, so the petrol is not helping us. If you work more, you use all the money for petrol again.
Meanwhile, City Business News sources at the Ministry of Energy indicates that the waiver will not take effect immediately, as the Finance Ministry is yet to complete its tabulations and forward it to Parliament for approval.
When announcements like these come, we all expect to see a reduction in the general cost of goods. After all, the slightest increase in fuel is used as justification of hikes in the cost of transportation and commodities. But the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, says the removal of the price stabilization and recovery levy on petrol, diesel and LPG for the next 2 months will have little or no effect on the price of foodstuffs on the market. This is surprising, right? Here is why.
Prices of major food items such as tomatoes, onion and plantain saw some significant increase within the first half of the year. The reasons for this vary, however, two consistent reasons over the years have been poor road networks for the transportation of food items as well as the cost of fuel. Data from commodity price analyst Isoko for the first half of the year showed that prices of major food items witnessed significant increases in tandem with the increases of fuel prices. For instance, a 100-kilogram bag of rice at the Tishiman market rose from 191 Ghana cedis in January to 301 Ghana cedis in June, translating to about a 60% increase, while a 72-kilogram crate of tomatoes from the same market over the same period rose by almost 130%, from 397 Ghana cedis to 904 Ghana cedis. Reacting to the news of the removal of the levies for 2 months, the General Secretary of GAU, Edward Kariwe, said, until major issues like bad roads and the increasing prices of spare parts are addressed, food prices will continue to remain high.
No, I don't see it because there are many factors that go with that affect transportation. It's not only about fuel prices, spare parts, roads, and so on. Once the road network is not good, once the prices of spare parts are high, if you even reduce fuel prices, it's only one component of the cost. You know, the other costs are still constant, the other costs are still intact, and they are still going up. So the petrol reduction in fuel price alone will not be enough to compensate for the other costs that I've mentioned. So that's why I'm saying that food prices will not come down because of transportation costs will not come down. And the overall effect is that food prices will go up.
The government's efforts to temporarily remove the price stabilization and recovery levies is commendable, but the LPG Marketers Association says it would be better to completely scrap it. They argue that it will encourage more people to switch to LPG, which is a healthier energy source for domestic use.
The National Petroleum Authority (NPA) on October 11, 2021 approved the removal of the Price Stabilization and Recovery Levies (PRSL) on petrol, diesel and LPG for 2 months. The removal, according to the NPA, is to mitigate the impact of global prices of petroleum commodities on the Ghanaian public. But the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi, in a City Business News interview said the NPA's intervention, albeit well-intentioned, may not achieve its impact if the levies are not permanently removed.
Any measure taken by government to pushing consumers in terms of fuel prices is welcome news. In our situation, welcome that decision by government. Just that we would have wished for a more permanent approach to this issue. Because if you are suspending it for 2 months, after 2 months, you bring it back. Consumers will be worse off when you bring this thing back again. We, for the past 4 or 5 years, have been calling on government to consider removing taxes from the LPG, because we believe LPG must be made tax-free. If you look at our West Africa sub-region, most countries in the sub-regions are indeed subsidizing the product. But in Ghana, we have moved from subsidy to full cost recovery, and we are now putting as much as almost 20% taxes on the product. And that is really pushing a lot of consumers from the use of LPG. And you know the dire consequences this will have, the dire effects this will have on our environment, this will have on our rivers, this will have on our forests, and our nation as a whole. Now, government has announced a 14 peso suspension of the price stabilization levy.
Mr. Kumi further noted that the price of LPG may even go up during the period of the suspension of the levies.
I think there's a need for us to be very measured in communicating this to consumers. Because the fact that government is suspending this 14 peso does not automatically mean that when consumers go to the pump, they should expect that kind of decrease. Because from our projection, by the next window, which is on Friday on the 16th, price of LPG is going to go up by about 8%, which translates to about 45 to 50 pesos on the product. Now, government is going to reduce the price of the product by 14 pesos. So if you reduce it by 14 pesos and on Friday price goes up by 45 pesos, consumers will still have 31 pesos increment to confront with. And that is what we need to make our consumers understand, so that consumers will not come and beat us up at our station. Because if you tell that the impression is being created that once government implements this suspension, consumers should expect a decrease in the price of petroleum product, but that is not so. That can happen only if prices are stable, prices are stabilized for the next window. But as I said, our projection is that LPG, for instance, is going to go up by 8%. And that will translate into about 45 Ghana pesos. And if that happens, even if government is able to implement that 14 peso suspension on Friday, there is no way consumers will witness a decrease in price of LPG. There will rather be an increment.
I'm sure you'd better appreciate their call when you hear that the price of LPG was expected to increase by 40 pesos from the 15th of this month. The increase was blamed on hikes on the global market. But from what they are proposing, if the removal of the price stabilization and recovery levy is maintained, at least the new increase will actually come down to about 24 pesos. The rice is many.
Prices of liquefied petroleum gas over the months has seen significant increment following hike in world market price of crude oil, the cedi-dollar exchange rate, taxes and levies, and some margins including petroleum service providers margin. A 14.5 kilogram cylinder of LPG in January jumped from 85 Ghana cedis 84 pesos to 92 Ghana cedis 75 pesos in March 2021. The pricing adjustment became dire in the month of September, which recorded an astronomical increase in the price of LPG for 3 consecutive times. For instance, the price for a 25 kilogram cylinder of LPG shot up from 148 Ghana cedis in January to 188 Ghana cedis in September. In that same month, the price for the same kilogram of LPG grew from 192 Ghana cedis 5 pesos, showing a significant increase in the product. Currently, a 25 kilogram of LPG is pegged at 197 Ghana cedis 75 pesos. The situation will get worse beginning Friday, October 15, following a notice from the LPG Marketers Association to increase the price of the product by 40 pesos. This development has been bemoaned by many consumers who are calling for the stabilization of the price of the product.
See, I have 2 cylinders. My wife cooks and sells, so I used to buy a cylinder for her. But almost every 2 weeks, when I come, there's a change of price, more than 20 cedis. It was first, the big one was 80 cedis. About 2 weeks time I came, it was 100 and something.
That's drastic increment.
Too much. Even fuel, petrol is not being increased like that. So my wife have stopped using the small cylinders. Now using charcoal. I think it's benefiting her than the LPG.
We have the big one, that's the 65 kg. I remember as at last month, we bought it at I think almost 350 or 360. And here today we came here and they said it's almost 500. I thought if it had gone up, it would go up like 400. But when we came, it's 500. And it doesn't take long. It's supposed to take at least 2 months, but less than a month, they tell us that the gas is finished and we have to go and fill it again to run the business. And it's really, really worrying us, yes.
Meanwhile, President of the LPG Marketers Association has downplayed the NPA's 2-month scrapping of the price stabilization and recovery levies. According to him, a permanent and sustainable plan should be put in place to cut down costs of LPG on customers.
A move by government to ensure that at least the price comes down by removing or, if you like, suspending this price stabilization levy. Our only difficulty is that we would have called for a more permanent approach, because the communication that came says it's a suspension from 2 months. So the question is, after 2 months, what next? Are we going to do further suspension, or we are going to go back? And that will even hit the consumer the more.
If you're going to buy fuel and are concerned that you might not be getting quality products, the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited, BOST, says no adulterated content will find its way onto the market. BOST recently arrested a tanker driver who allegedly was in possession of adulterated fuel that was to be discharged at its Kumasi depot. 9 tanker trucks that are believed to be carrying the adulterated content have also been parked at a safe place pending investigations.
Crime scene officers from the Ashanti Regional Police Command have come to the Kumasi depot of BOST to continue with investigations into fuel adulteration. A tanker driver is in police custody, while other drivers believed to have adulterated the content are on the run. The managing director of Bulk Oil and Transportation Storage Company Limited gave further details of the incident.
Upon arrival at their destination, the same product is tested again to ensure that what was loaded on the trucks is what has been delivered before it is discharged into our tanks. During the pre-charge testing of product aboard this particular BRVs, it was discovered through the basic test that the chemical composition of the products at Kumasi differed from what was loaded on the truck at APD. And this was detected by one of our staff with the supervision of the depot manager, Singe, here. So we made a call for a confirmation testing, which proved that the result of the basic test was correct, and the products aboard the trucks had been adulterated. Currently, the trucks and their contents are being held at a safe place whilst investigations continue, and one of the drivers is in custody, helping the investigative agencies to get to the bottom of the matter.
He also assured the consuming public that the adulterated content would not find its way to the market.
BOST would wish to assure the public that with our current robust standard operating procedures, no adulterated product will find its way into our tanks, much less get into the market. We further wish to assure the public that the reported incident has not affected our operations in any way, and the fuel safety and security of our country is our paramount concern, and we assure the whole nation that there will be no contamination or no adulteration within any BOST terminal henceforth. We further wish to say that we hope the investigative agencies who we have escalated the matters to would see to the bottom of this matter. We also have a contract with all the transport owners. And in the contract, one of the key clauses for termination under Section 18E is that if you bring in an adulterated product into our terminal, it is grounds for termination of the contract with BOST. But all the others will leave it to the investigative bodies to come up with their findings, and I'm sure the law will take its course.
The Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Standard Authority, and the National Petroleum Authority are jointly investigating the matter.
Madam, how much is your kinky?
2 cedis.
Hey, no 1 cedi 50 pesos.
No, not at all.
Ah, in Adabraka here.
Yes, the maize is very expensive.
Hey, I'm coming in. I came to really appreciate that times were really hard. When I went to buy kinky recently, I was told the 1 cedi 50 peso ball was no longer being sold in my area. I was compelled to buy 2 cedi ball, and to my surprise, it was the same size as the 1 cedi 50 peso ball I bought the other day. If things don't change, so we might start buying kinky at 3 Ghana cedi stuff. Madam, you give me the 2 cedi like that.
It's finished. I have the 3 cedi left.
According to the Ghana Statistical Service, the rate of inflation measures the relative change in the price level of a basket of goods and services purchased by households in Ghana. For 4 months in a row, the rate of inflation has witnessed an increase. After dropping from 10.3% in February this year to 9.9% and 8.5% in March and April respectively, the rate dropped further to 7.5% in May. It has since then increased consistently through June, July, August and September, driven mainly by increases in food prices and other factors. This month, food inflation, which was 11.5%, was higher than last month's rate of 10.9%. The contribution of food inflation to total inflation dropped from 50.2% last month to 48.6% in September. So what does the rising level of inflation mean for the ordinary Ghanaian? Courage Marty is an economist with Databank and gives us a breakdown.
Now, it is the erosion of your purchasing power. So if, for instance, you purchased an item which was worth 100 cedis last year as a consumer, from last year to now, inflation has gone up, or general price levels have gone up by 10.6%. So it means that if you want to purchase the same item, you no longer need 100 cedis, but you will need 110 cedis, 60 pesos to be able to buy the same item. So you either would need more money to buy the same item, or with the same 100 cedis, you can only buy less. So disposable income has been reduced, and it is only a matter of time that standard of living would also be negatively impacted. Now, what it means from an investor perspective is that if I give you my money, the risk to the value of that money has been increased. So I demand a higher compensation for that risk. So interest rates, which is a compensation for risks such as inflation, will start to go up.
Even though the year hasn't ended, the September rate of 10.6% still exceeds the end-of-year projections by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, who are projecting that Ghana will end the year with an inflation rate of 9.8% and 10.2% respectively. According to Mr. Marty, the projections of the Bretton Woods institutions are in order.
If you currently, the World Economic Outlook from the IMF says that we are likely to end inflation. We're likely to end this year with inflation of 10.2%, right? Well, give or take, not far from what Data Bank is also forecasting at 10.7% upper forecast. And you could say that also inches us around the same area as the World Bank, who is also approximately hitting the upper limit of 10%, right? So it tells you what is in the outlook, and it tells you that there is some form of quick decision that needs to be taken on both sides of the policy spectrum to be able to quell the pressure before it starts to hit the roof. Because the risk we stand we are exposed to is that if we don't act quickly, then the increases will start to undermine expectation and confidence.
So you were saying the moment they gave you your money, you left the group.
I go a long time.
Hey, Charlie, you be wild guy. Now, have you heard of World Remit? The number of WhatsApp messages I have received claiming it's a money doubling business. The Bank of Ghana is warning the general public against patronizing them because it is a fraud. So please don't let anybody pressure you with those mouth-watering offers. It's a scam.
Bank of Ghana has identified a money doubling scheme operating in Ghana under the pseudonym World Remit.
This fraudulent scheme is distinct from the globally renowned fintech World Remit, which is in the business of international fund transfers. The scheme encourages customers to select preferred packages, following which a code is generated by the fraudsters with which they obtain the WhatsApp accounts of their victims for spurious purposes. The scheme is fraudulent and does not reward investors as promised. The general public is cautioned against patronage of this and other similar unsanctioned schemes. The Bank of Ghana states that it has not licensed any entities or individuals engaged in money doubling. The general public is therefore advised to take note as follows. 1. Verify with Bank of Ghana or other relevant authorities the licensing status of persons or entities prior to depositing funds with them. 2. Place deposits only with institutions licensed by Bank of Ghana in order that they may be accorded the necessary protection offered under the applicable banking laws. And 3. Refer to Bank of Ghana's notice on money doubling and card loading systems. The bank cautions the public not to participate in this illegal and fraudulent activity to avoid loss of funds. Any individual or entity that participates in such or similar schemes does so at their own peril.
Still on the Bank of Ghana, it is asking banks in the country to comply with the consumer protection policy governing the sector. This forms part of the central bank's effort to ensure the comfort and safety of consumers. Following the recent release of the customer satisfaction survey released on banks, they clearly will have to pay more attention to their clients.
Section 3 of the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2016, Act 930, mandates the Bank of Ghana to, among other things, regulate and supervise the conduct of banks and SDIs. In pursuance of Section 3(2)(d) and Section 92(2)(a)(xi) of Act 930, the Bank of Ghana issued the Consumer Recourse Mechanism Guidelines for Financial Service Providers in 2017 to provide customers of institutions licensed by the Central Bank with access to adequate redress that is fair, efficient, timely, and without cost to the complainant. Specifically, the guidelines require licensed institutions to display notices in all branches informing their customers of the processes in place at that institution for lodging and addressing customer complaints, the timelines for resolving such complaints, and how unresolved complaints may be escalated to the Bank of Ghana. According to the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, these regulations are not being followed by the various banks. Lamenting some of the infractions being committed by the banks per his outfit's findings, Dr. Addison asked the banks to put strict measures in place to ensure staff of banks comply with the consumer protection laws.
The Bank of Ghana also saw that a number of unfair treatments were meted out to customers, including application of unlawful charges and terms and conditions. Some of these unfair charges included penalty charges for over-the-counter withdrawals below stipulated minimum amounts and levying of maintenance fees on savings accounts. We also found that some banks were not transparent in their credit delivery process, leading to very high cost of borrowing. And some banks do not disclose their APRs and have hidden fees and charges associated with loan products. Also, some banks did not deliver on marketing promises, leading to customer frustrations and low confidence in many products and services offered by banks. The bank also observed some unacceptable conduct of frontline staff as a result of lack of training of such staff. I am highlighting these for your attention and to draw to you the importance of ensuring that consumers are well treated. This expectation is not only important to the Bank of Ghana, but to also other stakeholders and the general public as well.
The governor gave this warning during the launch of the Ghana Bankers Association and KPMG's magazine, The GH Banker's Voice. The CEO of the Ghana Bankers Association, John Ewa, tells City Business News what the motive behind the magazine is.
As you are very much aware, as banks, we generate volumes and volumes of data and information. As it is, for several years since we've had the first bank in this country we've not had a mouthpiece for the organization as an industry. And we thought that it would be good for us to lead the discussion. We know that there are other analysts and consultants and subject matter experts around who may want to speak to matters concerning banking in the country and beyond. But to what extent are we tabling the agenda so that we can direct the narrative and the direction of the discussions as we all engage in this business of banking?
Now to the impasse between Ghanaian and foreign traders engaging in retail trade in the country. Nigerian traders engaged in Ghana's retail space who have presented legal documents with regards to the registration of their businesses will be able to conduct their operations in a peaceful way. This latest update is part of the work of the new presidential task force set up by the Ministry of Trade and Industry to find a solution to the long-lasting issue.
Despite the GIPC Act's 2013 Act 865 prohibiting foreigners from engaging in retail trade in the country, some foreign nationals continue to do so. This development and the lack of proper enforcement by regulatory agencies have led to some Ghanaian retailers in some parts of the country in recent times lock up the shops of foreigners. However, in a latest meeting between the leadership of the Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA), the Nigerian Union of Traders Association (NUTAG), and the Presidential Task Force on Retail Trade, it emerged that after a 5-month delay, NUTAG has presented the necessary documentation for some of its members to allow them operate in the country's retail space. President of GUTA, Joseph Obeng, explained to the media that once the Presidential Task Force has validated all the documents, members of NUTAG will be allowed to operate.
As you are aware, we have been talked to and we have made a lot of concessions to our brothers here. They were supposed to submit documents somewhere in May. They pleaded for time for us to give them to bring the documents. At a point, they came and said that it would be difficult for them to comply with those directives. But during our last meeting, they all agreed and understood. The leadership understood whatever was going on and agreed that they will bring their documents. And through to their words, they've been able to submit their members' documents, those who have them. Those who don't have, they couldn't bring. So they were able to bring those and that they would be able to collate. And that's what the committee is going to work with. And then deal with those recalcitrant ones who do not even have documents to submit. And then we'll have our peace thereafter. So this is how far we've come.
On his part, President of NUTAG, Chief Chukwu Emeka Inaji, said his organization is ready to work with the Presidential Task Force to ensure the right thing is done.
We've got to understand when somebody is claiming his own right, because where your right stop is when another person's own started. I understand the fact that everybody is trying to do what he's supposed to do to protect his own interests, and that is fair. From the Nigeria side of it, we are aware and we know that Ghana is also part of ECOWAS and we are here. And otherwise, there's other laws the country have that we also have to go through with. Having said that, at this point, we watch the Committee on the Retail Trade to see what they will do. Praying that they will not cause more trouble for us. This will go smoothly, and I believe everybody will be happy.
Still in the markets, and the Ghana Standards Authority has announced plans to arrest and deal with all traders found selling substandard electrical products on the market. The exercise is not only going to be in Accra, but across the country. If you are guilty of this, please find a way to make amends, because if they get you in Sawum, straight.
The vexed issue of substandard electrical products on the Ghanaian market is one that has plagued the country for some time now. In 2018, a market swoop conducted by the Ghana Standards Authority revealed that about 96% of electrical products sold on the markets are below standards. The implications are many and varied. In most cases, it is cited for the many fire outbreaks in the country's markets, commercial and private homes and properties. At worst, it threatens the business of genuine local manufacturers in the country. As of July this year, the country has witnessed 5 fire outbreaks in some of its major markets. The Makola fire outbreak engulfed a 3-story building that led to the loss of items worth millions of cedis. Also, in April, over 40 shops were burned in a fire outbreak at the Kumasi Central Market. Again in April, a 2-story building was burnt in a fire at the Tichiman markets, not forgetting the fire that ravaged the Mankesi markets in the central region. There was also the timber market fire in May of this year. Sadly, however, research has shown that consumers are likely to pay little or no attention to the kind of cables they buy to wire their homes. But rigorous laboratory tests show that these inferior cables and other products are a major cause of fire outbreaks. Addressing the issue to members of the Traders Advocacy Ghana, Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodu, said the swoop will commence next week and persons found culpable will not be spared.
When it came to electrical goods, we went to the market, we went to Opera, and from next week we are going around the country. If Mohammed will not come to the mountain will come to Mohammed. So this is a pledge to you. The first thing GSA wants to do is to make business sweet. In Ghana, we say improving the ease of doing business. Our job is to make business smooth, to facilitate business, not to be a barrier to your business. Government's interest is that when you want to do business in Ghana, it's like this. So that you get your profit quickly, you get your turnover quickly, you make more money. Any delay from myself or my staff is bad for business and bad for Ghana. And please, if that happens, let us know. We would apply the necessary sanctions because as a country, if our businessmen and women, if our traders who want to follow the rules don't get good business quickly, then we are destroying our country. Electrical goods, we are starting what we are calling electrovigilance. We are vigilant on electrical cables, on all electrical goods. And I'm happy to see that we have built West Africa's only air conditioning lab this year. It's open, brand new, so that ACs which we can test them. Refrigerators, freezers, it's just there. It has not even been inaugurated by His Excellency the President yet, but it's open for business because we cannot wait. We also go with you on our market surveillance. We don't want the market surveillance to be a policeman catching a thief, but rather traders and government working to make sure that the rules are the same. That traders who are doing good business will have their business protected. And those who are doing business which is not legal will not have a place to operate in Ghana.
Let's now talk about the Agyapa royalties deal. And like the Terminator, the finance minister says it will be back. But at least this time it will take into consideration all the concerns raised by civil society organizations. CSOs believe the deal in its current state will shortchange the country.
In 2018, Parliament passed the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act 2018, which establishes the fund to manage the equity interests of Ghana in mining companies and receive royalties on behalf of the government. The government, through the Minerals Income Investment Fund (MIF), set up the Agyapa Royalties Limited to monetize Ghana's gold royalties. This was after Parliament approved the Agyapa Mineral Royalty Limited Agreement in the name of the Government of Ghana. However, a few days after approving the amendment to the MIF Act, the minority walked out during the approval process of the very transaction agreements, the facilitation of which the amendment to the fund statute was amended. Civil society groups also added their voices to the opposition, describing the special purpose vehicle being created as being opaque, potentially corrupt and undervalued. As a result, the President directed the Finance Minister and Attorney General to review the transaction agreements and make the necessary adjustments to address the concerns raised by stakeholders. Speaking at a ceremony to inaugurate the 9-member board of the Minerals Income and Investment Fund, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta assured that all concerns raised by the CSOs and stakeholders about the proposed Agyapa mineral royalties deal will be addressed before presenting to Parliament again. He charged the new board members to ensure that the transaction goes through after parliamentary approval, as it is the best vehicle to support the country's development through the mining sector.
I guess the question we ask ourselves is, after mining gold for hundreds of years, what can we truly show for it? In terms of certainly supporting livelihoods and the budget, money to the traditional authorities. But truly, have we used those resources to the level that other countries have been able to do? I think that the Attorney General has looked at it. We have had a few stakeholder meetings. I think the new board should be energized to review that and then go through the parliamentary process. I'm unequivocal that it is the way to go in terms of monetizing our minerals and finding a way to leverage it, to reduce the level of debt that the country has and move into equity. It has been done, and therefore the concerns that were raised, we should be able to address them and move forward, but not to jettison it.
Board chair of the 9-member board of the Minerals Income and Investment Fund is Professor Douglas Boateng. Other members of the new board include Felicia Jemfi Ashley, George Mrikuduka, Edward Nanayao Kranting, Reverend Amishadai Owusu Amwa, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari, and Associate Professor Grace Ofori Sapong.
Isn't it interesting that Ghana, with its over 30 million population, still depends on its food from farmers who largely produce on a subsistence level? Isn't it worrying? I'm sure that's why the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs is encouraging smallholder farmers in the northern region to venture into commercial farming to help address the challenge of food shortage in the country.
The Savannah Zone Agricultural Productivity Improvement Project, SAPIP, was introduced 4 years ago with the aim of increasing farmers' food and nutrition and also increase income through the use of skills and technological advancement to move farmers from small-scale farming to large-scale farming. Since the inception of the project, some 118 farmers in the project area have been supported to develop over 13,000 hectares of land for maize and soya bean cultivation using conservative agriculture. Alhaji Mashood Mohammed is the CEO of Kuju Abimash Farms, a beneficiary of the SAPIP SIP project. He currently employs over 50 permanent workers and about 1,000 casual workers on his crop and poultry farms. He explained the impact of the intervention on his farm.
I was doing less than 20 acres as a farmer. So virtually I was also a smallholder farmer. And when I joined the program 2017-2018, by which time I had cleared about 31 acres. But as I speak now, 31 hectares. As I speak now, I have about 954 hectares. So you can see the support of SAPIP. If you deduct 31 from 900, and you see what SAPIP has supported us. And again, like I said, what we were doing was that every year we were plowing and harrowing. But with the support of SAPIP, we realized that no, we can do conservation without till. So we call it no-till. With that support and technical backstopping, we have realized that there's no need for us to be plowing every year. And if we don't plow, the cost of plowing 1 acre and harrowing is about 150 Ghana cedis. And look at the number of hectares we are doing. A hectare is 2.5 acres. So multiplying it by 950 acres, you could see how the amount of money we would have been spending. So with our engagement with SAPIP, it has shown that we are saving a lot.
Addressing the media during a field visit to some crop and poultry farms under the SAPIP SIP project by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, the chairman of the committee, John Osei Frimpong, was impressed with the progress made and urged smallholder farmers to upskill into commercial production to ensure food security.
We are not far from reaching where we want to go. So I'll use this opportunity to encourage other farmers that they should also venture into the commercial farming so that they can help solve the problem of shortage. It was also revealed here by the same farmer that the businessmen, those who buy the farm produce, come from about 6 neighboring countries to buy from the farmers locally. They don't even send it to the aggregators before they buy. They buy directly from the farm. And their activities affect food production in Ghana. So it's incumbent upon the government to fashion out strategies to stop this other markets, other businessmen from foreign countries buying from here. We can do more, support the buffer stock system or the company to store more for our farmers to benefit from what the government is doing.
The SAPIP project, which is a 5-year intervention, will end in 2022. What sustainable measures can be put in place to ensure commercial farmers and other low production farmers are not affected?
We are building sustainable systems that will continue with what we have started. Of course, there will be the need for future projects that will tackle other areas. But we've already established the Farmer Association that we want eventually to be a coordinating company that will play the role of what SAPIP is currently doing, so that they will be responsible for acquiring their own inputs, they will be responsible for marketing their own inputs and other things. And I think if we are able to do that, that is more sustainable than all the time supporting farmers on what they do. These are some of the sustainable structures that we have put in place. And I think land development is one of the critical assets of a farmer. Why? Large-scale farming is being hindered because of land development. But we have provided that. And once you have provided, farmers will continuously use it.
That thing is not balancing. Anyway, still in the northern region and on agriculture, some farmers in the region say the fertilizer government gave them is killing their crops. That sounds strange and odd, right? Because fertilizers are rather meant to help crops grow and flourish. Let's hear them out.
In recent times, the supply of fertilizer nationwide has been a topical issue in the country. Farmers across the country have bemoaned the shortage of fertilizer, fearing its attendant effect on food supply in the country. In the Nanumba North Municipality in the northern region, farmers here are rather lamenting a strange effect the fertilizer is having on their crops. According to them, their maize farms rather dries up immediately they apply the fertilizer. Over 500 farms are affected in the municipality. City News visited some of the farms to verify the information. This 5-acre maize farm is completely dried up, and farmers are alleging that the fertilizer they apply is the cost. They say they bought it from the chemical dealers in Bimbila. Here are some of the farmers speaking to City News on the station.
Did 2 plots of this, 2 acres of land. And first 2 weeks after sowing the maize, first 2 weeks I bought fertilizer to come and apply. I apply. The 4th week I came with fertilizer again. I apply, and this is what happens to the leaves of the maize. Some grow taller than the others. Pests infect them. The fertilizer I apply to, it dries some of the leaves of the crops. Yeah, when you look at the leaves, some of the leaves, it's not just affecting the leaves. At the end of the season, or when the crop is up to the tasseling, you see that some are tasseling and some are still like that.
We didn't get good fertilizer. That is our problem. Because looking at these my crops, at first it was not like this. And immediately I applied the fertilizer, and it has
just turned to this. So I don't know what will happen next.
The farmers fear an imminent food shortage, saying aside maize, their yam seeds got rotten in their mouths.
We farm mostly, each and every farmer here farm yam. And the yams, they died in the yam mounds before germination. So that is going to cause mess. Even our chemicals, the way we used to sell this year, the patronage is down, because the farmers will sell the yam, they will dig the new yam, sell, come back to prepare for the next season. But for this year, they are not coming. And we have also seen what has happened. There's no yam to sell to prepare for the new season again. So probably if there's no yam, if the new yams are not abundant, at this time, for sure, there will be crisis.
They want the government to intervene to prevent an unfortunate happening.
I am appealing to government and stakeholders and even NGOs to support. If not that, this year I don't think we will get food and eat, and we will face challenges this year.
City News also visited the chemical dealers in the town to see the kind of fertilizer the farmers are complaining about and if they received the complaints from the farmers. Mohammed Yusuf is the secretary of the Chemical Dealers Association in Bimbila. He confirmed to City News of receiving such complaints from the farmers.
We've received several reports on that, and we've even gone to the farms to witness it, and it really happens. But from the report we reported it to the MOFA people. They also went to the farms to check on it. But what happened was that they were saying either the fertilizers were expired or it wasn't produced well.
The officer in charge of the fertilizer at the Nanumba North Municipal Agric Office, Abdurrahman Abdullahi, tells City News the accusations by the farmers cannot be true, since none of them have officially reported the incident to his outfit.
There are so many factors to this, so you cannot just use one particular complaint that is a fertilizer. There are so many areas that you can look at it to conclude that either is this or that. But for the Department of Agric, officially no farmer have come to complain that was.
To our final story on the show, even though the tourism and hospitality industry is yet to recover from the impact of the pandemic, the sector ministry is envisaging a 5 billion Ghana cedi contribution to Ghana's GDP by end of 2022. This sounds quite ambitious, doesn't it? But the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture seems very convinced it is possible.
The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture generated about 3.3 billion Ghana cedis in 2019 alone. This was the era before the coronavirus pandemic affected businesses in the sector in 2020 and early parts of 2021. However, with the current measures put in place by government's interventions, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has estimated that the country should be able to rake in about 5 billion Ghana cedis as part of its contribution to the country's GDP. Sector Minister Mohammed Awal believes with the amount of money already generated towards the latter part of the year 2021, this figure is a possibility by the year 2022.
I said that the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture should generate 5 billion. That's my target with the President. The 5 billion is coming from all sectors. In 2019, when we did the year return before COVID, we did 3 billion. Tourism did 3.3 billion. But COVID came last year, 2020. Tourism depends on travels and arrivals. It didn't happen. But as tourism is bouncing now, it's projected that tourism will bounce by 47% this year. So we believe that from next year, if we get 2 million visitation, we'll get to about 5 billion. Because each tourist spends an average of $3,000 in Ghana. So if we get 3 by 2, if you get 3,000 by 2 million people, that took already 6 billion. That's only international arrivals. We also have domestic tourism, which we are trying to drive.
The minister reiterated a plea to the public to patronize domestic tourism in order to surpass the 5 billion Ghana cedis projection of GDP contribution.
Because Ghanaians don't travel much, we're encouraging domestic tourism. We want to have at least 1 million people going around the country every year. When they do that, they are not only appreciating our values, creating a national sense of cohesion, we're also distributing income, because people will go from Accra to Volta region, to Upper West, to Upper East, to North region, and they'll spend money, they'll buy things. So we're sending people and enriching the rural economy. So 5 billion is even small. We will do it. If we improve our tourist assets, forts and castles, our culture, all those and do it, Ghanaians would go, and then foreigners also go. And that's how we generate the money too.
Well, this is all time will allow us for this week's edition of the Business Weekly Show here on City TV. But don't worry, next week we'll bring you more. The show was sponsored by Standard Chartered Bank, here for good. As always, this has been the Business Weekly Show, the most watched business show in the country. We'll catch you same time next week, but don't worry, our website citybusinessnews.com has regular business news update for you, and the business dashboard, which airs 10 p.m. sharp every weekday, which I repeat the following day at 7 a.m. and at 10:30 a.m. has more business stories for you. Catch you same time next week. Stay safe, stay informed, and bye-bye.